And in business news, we begin from Lagos, where President Tinubu is appealing to citizens to be patient and supportive of the ongoing economic reforms, which he asserted will transform Nigeria's economy for the better. Speaking at the Lagos House in Marina, Lagos, during a town hall meeting with traditional rulers, chairpersons of local governments and local council development areas, and other political office holders across the state, the president says Nigeria, under his renewed hope agenda, is undergoing a process of financial re-engineering. He assured Nigerians that his administration will not stop working tirelessly to revamp the nation's economy and create viable opportunities for young people to participate in an inclusive, labor-intensive economy where businesses can thrive.
Nigeria is challenged, which it has always been, but we will go through it. We are already seeing the blossomness of our flower and plants. A lot of changes that will transform this economy. Financial re-engineering of our country is ongoing. It cannot just be pushed out in a way that you can command and conjure a situation.
Meanwhile, the National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's external and domestic debt profile hits 87.9 trillion naira in the third quarter of this year. The Bureau, in its document entitled Nigeria's Domestic and Foreign Debt Q3 of 2023, noted that public debt stock, which includes external and domestic debt, stood at 87.9 trillion naira. That's about $114.35 billion in Q3 of 2023. From 87.38 trillion naira in Q2 of 2023, indicating a growth rate of 0.61% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. NBS noted that the total external debt stood at 31.98 trillion naira in Q3 of 2023, while domestic debt was 55.93 trillion naira. The document showed that Lagos topped the list of states with a high debt profile of 960.5 billion naira. Meanwhile, the financial analyst has expressed expectations for the global economy in 2024. According to co-founder and CEO of Budget Nigeria, Mr. Oluseun Onigbinde, it's expected that the global economy would be heavily impacted by the deployment of AI and other key events around the world. Mr. Onigbinde spoke to me earlier on our flagship business program, Business Nigeria.
I don't think 2024 will take us to pre-COVID levels. I feel like one thing to really watch out for is how the acceleration of AI technologies and what that means for the labor market. That's something that I'm personally paying attention to. I'm also looking at the Middle East, the stability of the Middle East. What does that look like? What does that do into the energy markets? And especially when you have Russia also working with OPEC in the OPEC Plus agreement. What does that mean? Do we get a stable energy market in 2024, and that would be my own projection to how things look. The third thing is to look at is inflation in the United States and the housing market. What does that mean? How does that look in 2024? Because if inflation is not tempered in the United States and its housing market does not get a facelift, then definitely we might be getting into some significant or some difficult times here. Also, the elections in the U.S. The U.S. is having elections in 2024. So that would also mean that's a significant global event. I mean, and the whole of countries are also having elections. Ghana, I think Rwanda, Germany, even the UK, they have elections in 2024. So you're going to have, you are going to have this situation where all of economies are going to be in this uncertainty. And the U.S. is also going to be there. So
the federal government has continued to receive commendations for Nigerians for granting a 50% discount on public transport across the country as part of interventions aimed at reducing the high cost of transportation during this festive season. One of such commendations is coming from a public affairs and policy analyst, Mr. Gbolahan Olojede. Mr. Olojede also spoke with me on Business Nigeria earlier today. I began by asking him what the reduction in fare means to Nigerians in this period and its implications on the overall economy. Take a listen.
It means that a lot of people who travel will be able to travel. And when they do that, because it also has implications for economic activities. True. So you see a community that is relatively quiet with maybe 2,000 people. Suddenly that community receives an additional 4,000. It's about 30 times its initial population. So the economic activities that will go around that season helps those communities. And a lot of it happens, especially in the southeastern part of Nigeria, where people do a lot of travels to that part. So it has an economic implication for those societies where people are moving to. And when they are moving, they also move with a lot of things. I know people even go as far as going along with generators, with all sort of things to their villages. So there's a social side, which is the fact that I love to visit my community in December. True. And I'm able to do that. Yeah. Then there's the economic part that a quiet community of 2,000 people suddenly has 6,000 or 10,000 people in that same community. It's a lot of it.
Hotels, everywhere.
Hotels are going to be busy. You know, people who sell things are going to sell. You're selling chicken. Whatever you're selling, demand will be high. So economic activities generally will be high.
Mr. Olojede there speaking on the 50% discount given on traveling fare for Nigerians across the board. Big companies returned to the stock market where they made huge gains before the close of the year. Markets editor Ifeanyi Ekop has details.
A day to the closing of trading for the year, stock market activities hit up in various sectors. The rising prices came on the back of the performance by Dangote Cement that secured more than 6% straight jump. That action moved the index of the markets in a forward line of 0.95%. Other trade gainers with impacts included Abe Building Society, Academy Press, Eternal Oil, and Daha Communications. Stocks traders were hopeful that last trade for the year will crown positive sentiment so far seen in the markets. Downside traders that recorded losses at the close of business were Computer Warehouse Group, Deep Capital, Access Holding, Keveton Aviation, and ICO Insurance. Ifeanyi Ekop, TVC News, Lagos.
Asian shares killed 5-month peak as market floaters on aggressive rate cuts, which extended a huge rally in the U.S. Stocks and bonds while leaving disappointment in the new year. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside Japan added 1.4% to be up 11% in 2 months. And at its highest since August, Japan's Nikkei was up 0.4% as a rebound in year-end has kept the gains for December to a minimum. Chinese blue chips bounced 2.3%, having missed out on the global shares. Foreign investors fretted about the economic fluttering recovery and tensions with the United States. Eurostock 50 features added 0.4%, FTSE features 0.3%, S&P 500 feature edged up 0.1%, another record high, while Nasdaq features firmed 0.2%. Thousands of Argentines took to the street to protest the decree of sweeping economic reforms and deregulation proposed by President Javier Milei. Marching on the behest of labor unions, the protesters demanded the court intervenes to invalidate the mega decree they say would cave away workers and consumer protections. The president's decree would scrap more than 350 economic regulations in the country, accustomed to heavy government interventions in the market. A number of civic groups filed a judicial motion to have the decree declared unconstitutional. Protests went off peacefully except for a confrontation between a small group of protesters and the police. Journalists were caught up in the scuffle as police broke up the group and protesters and some were bitten by the police. Crude oil prices steadied today after falling sharply in previous session as concerns eased about shipping disruptions along the Red Sea route, even as tensions in the Middle East continue to rise. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell to sell at $73.49 with a downward review of 0.84%. Brent also experienced a decline of 0.39 to sell at $79.34. Bonilla recorded an uptick of 0.46%, selling at $81.48. For the OPEC basket, crude dealers are offering $80.84, down 0.49%. That's business. Next is sports. Stay with us.